Everyone, it's Paul with this week's video. So today I'm going to talk about three important parts of the America 2.0 fourth industrial revolution investing landscape, if you will. And I'm going to cover things that I've been talking about on this channel, and we talk about on this channel for a long time, which is one, we're going to cover space, because there's a lot of stuff going on in space. Second, we're going to cover Bitcoin. And then I made a video recently on Robinhood. And being that I mentioned the opportunity to you, I want to give you an update on what is going on with Robinhood. So if you track back to my previous video, you'll see that I told people that Robinhood is coming IPO. For those of you who are new to the stock market, it means that for the very first time, a company stock is available for regular people to invest. And Robinhood, very much in keeping with its own theme of opening up access to the stock market, investing, trading, and yes, even speculating to everybody, is actually going to leave 35% of its IPO shares for users of its app. And I can tell you that this is a very unusual thing. The vast majority of companies leave something like 1 or 2 or 3%. In other words, nothing really for regular investors, retail investors. Robinhood, very much in keeping with its mission, is setting aside 35% of its shares for regular investors. And in my previous video, I said, looking at everything from the sales growth, their user growth, what their sales comprise of, which is very options heavy, which is very profitable for a brokerage company. And looking at that, so many things that eliminate barriers to investing, which are unique to them, including no minimum balance, no commissions, access to things like crypto, which regular brokerage firms still largely do not offer. So these are very attractive things. And then actually I found a couple of additional things that made me feel even more positive about it. One is that in excess of 50% of the people who have opened up an account on Robinhood are doing it for the very first time. And while many of them may have started with very small numbers, a few $1,000s, today they are putting in well in excess of $10,000 into these accounts. So this is not a case of where people are putting nothing in. And the last thing that I found out is that, which is that their average cost of acquiring a customer in 2021 has dropped to as little as $20. So in other words, for them to get a customer onto Robinhood, cost them as little. I can tell you that in my business, for example, we have a newsletter called Profits Unlimited. It can cost us well in excess of $200 or even $300 to do the same thing. And the brokerage firms like Schwab and others, they're in the same territory. It can cost a lot of money. And essentially that's marketing expense. They got to run an ad thousands and thousands of times to get one click that actually ends up in a sale. So Robinhood does that by its little secret. In other words, it gives away a stock, and that is attractive enough to a lot of people to actually get them started. And also those minimum balances, those things are great as well to eliminate the barriers. So lots of good things. Final details that are important if you were considering buying into the Robinhood IPO. And just to explain what that is. So when a company is about to come public, they distribute shares before it starts trading on the actual stock market. And if the supply and demand balance is in the favor of demand, in other words, after allocating, in this case, it's going to be 55 million shares. That's how many shares they're going to be selling. If after allocating those 55 million shares among retail investors, institutional investors, we're talking about pension funds, hedge funds, family offices that have good relationships with people like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs that usually allocate these IPOs. Once those 55 million shares are distributed out, if there's additional demand that's still left, then, well, the market determines what is going to be the price. by seeing who of the people that got allocated the shares are willing to sell and at what price. And when that demand and supply is in the favor of demand, in other words, there's a lot more people that want to buy than want to sell, well, you get what's called a one-day pop. And many people like that, and they live for these 20, 30%, maybe 15% pops. And that's something that's a judgment that ultimately you're going to have to make. And I have to warn you that this channel is not financial advice. Anything that you choose to follow is ultimately your own decision. It's always possible to lose money in the financial markets because markets are speculative, and that's something that pretty much comes with the territory. So not financial advice, and this is not a guarantee that Robinhood IPO is absolutely 100%, 10,000% likely to be one that is successful. Nonetheless, in my opinion, my judgment, the odds look good because of the 55 million shares, they're going to allocate 19.25 million shares to retail investors that are on their platform. In other words, you would need to download the app and then go to their IPO access section. And then they'll ask you, how much do you want to pay? And rather than telling them how much you want to pay, it really is more of a poll to see how interested you are. So if you're really, really interested and you're willing to potentially pay a very high price, then you would put a very high number because that means that you're very interested in owning it. And if you're not so interested, you would put a low price. And the other thing is that with IPOs, you have to have your cash in the account. You can't buy it on margin and you can't wire the cash in later. You got to have the money right there at the moment when they distribute the shares, which means you got to line all those things to do it right now. And in full disclosure mode, I can say that I've told my Profits Unlimited subscribers, so we've got something like 120,000, 130,000. It varies by the month a little bit. We've told people that this is a good deal, and they should consider participating in it. And if you're interested in checking out Profits Unlimited, well, click on the strong hands above, and I'll be doing actually an update on Robinhood on the Profits Unlimited update actually later on this morning. So if you subscribe, you will have access to that. To round out the end of this, Robinhood is supposed to start trading on Friday. So Thursday night, the prices will be finalized. The prices, as per what I'm reading in the press, I have no access to the investment bankers that are doing the IPO or the management of Robinhood. It's supposed to come between $28 and $32. At that price, it would be valued anywhere between $35 to $40 billion. And when you look at all the things that I mentioned in my previous video, which you'll need to go check out from last week, you can see this is a very fast growing company with a very young demographic, skewed towards trading in very profitable segments like options. And the big knock on it, the controversy, if you will, is that they take they sell their orders. In other words, they get payments for order flow. However, I went and researched this, and the truth is that everyone, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, E-Trade, they all do it. So this is, as they say in the crypto world, a piece of FUD. That when the financial media talks about it, they don't tell you that, oh yeah, but everyone else does it as well. And Robinhood generates about $520 million per quarter. At least that's what it was in the first quarter of 2021, which if you annualize it is over $2 billion per year. All right, so Robinhood IPO coming. They're setting aside as much as potentially 35% of the shares for regular investors that are on their platform. It may be possible to get it from other brokers. However, it's going to be a lot easier, obviously, if you're using the Robinhood. You'd need to download it. You'd need to go to the IPO access. You'd need to have cash in your account, and you'd need to bid for it to be able to get access to the IPO. And I've gotten a few questions on Twitter. Unfortunately, this is only for US citizens because it's going to trade on US markets. Robinhood is not listed in the United Kingdom or Australia or Ireland or Switzerland, any other places. So you'd need to have access to a US-based account to be able to participate. All right, so that's agenda item number one for this video done, which is Robinhood coming IPO this week. All right, second one is Bitcoin. So those of you who follow Bitcoin pretty closely, my guess is that if you own any amount of it, you track the price pretty much all the time because it's trading all the time. So somewhere on Sunday night, while at least most folks on Eastern Standard Time were sleeping, Bitcoin started to rocket up and went from about $30,000 to nearly $40,000 on Monday. It's now trading at somewhere in the $38,000 range. And as you know, I've put myself out there by saying that I believe that Bitcoin can be priced at $250,000, let's say by June 30th of next year. And from where I said, nothing's changed. In other words, you have a very extreme demand and supply imbalance here with Bitcoin, which is that there are a limited number. In total, when all Bitcoin are going to be mined, it's going to be 21 million. Right now, it's somewhere between 18.5 and 19 million. And then you've got massive demand that is developing. In the previous cycle, when Bitcoin hit 20,000 in 2017, it was largely an asset that was really owned by very, very few people, almost all individuals. There might have been a few hedge funds here and there. However, they would have been considered to be a little bit crazy. So most people would never go near it. Today, it's a completely different scenario. The supply side is unchanged because Bitcoin is mathematically defined, 21 million coins forever. That's all that can ever be mined, and of which 18.5, 19 million already mined. And then there is a lot of people who bought Bitcoin at much cheaper prices that are just what they call hodling. In other words, they're just going to keep holding this forever. Bitcoin is digital gold, as they talk about. In other words, this is being used as a store of value increasingly around the world. And we have now so many things going on that did not exist in 2017. We have companies like Square, Tesla, MicroStrategy. I think Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, suggested that they may own Bitcoin, or at least they're going to be betting on Bitcoin in a big way in their business. Then you've got El Salvador that has recognized it as legal tender. I believe that other countries that are in the same position as El Salvador that use the dollar are going to find that Bitcoin is a better alternative for them, because at least Bitcoin's policies are mathematically defined rather than whatever the Federal Reserve chooses to do with the dollar in the United States being imposed on various countries, and they have no connection to that. So we've got so many things going on. So by year end, how many more companies will have bought Bitcoin? How many more countries will have recognized as legal tender? How many more people seeing other people having gotten rich or making money as a result of Bitcoin rising are going to want it? As my incredible colleague Ian Dyer likes to say, there's more demand at higher prices. And this is actually true. It's only at the very, very top that the folks that have made a lot of money start to press in and start to sell. Some people are arguing that that's where we are right now, and I disagree. I believe that we are pretty early in the Bitcoin sort of era, not cycle, a Bitcoin era, and where you can see that if the world's demand comes for Bitcoin, it's going to go to stratospheric heights. And nothing's changed. All the FUD on Bitcoin is still all the same. There's FUD about zero-day exploits. There's FUD about it being hacked. There's FUD about it being worth nothing and having no intrinsic value. There's FUD about the fact that it's not used as a currency. And that's the nature really of all bull markets. There's a litany of complaints. There's a litany of arguments as to why you should stay out. And it's only once the price has risen a great deal and all these complaints and issues have been dealt with that the people who dislike investing into things that have all these questions against it are going to come into it. By then, however, the biggest gains are going to be in, and you're going to miss out. Bitcoin is also in our Profits Unlimited portfolio, and we cover it regularly. And if you're interested in checking out to see what we say about it on a week-to-week basis, click on the strong hands above. We'll send you an invitation to subscribe to Profits Unlimited. Okay, last one on space. In the space of a month, yeah, that's an unintended pun. We've actually seen now two sets of civilian space flights. We've seen the billionaire Richard Branson. He's of Virgin fame. In other words, he's run a series of businesses, everything from Virgin Airlines. There used to be Virgin Music. There's, I believe, Virgin Mobile. There's an array of Virgin branded businesses that he's made his money on. And there's Virgin Galactic, which is a publicly traded company that I have not recommended. And I'm not going to say anything about good or bad. I cannot actually decide one way or the other. However, if we decide we're going to buy into it, it will go into one of our services. He has gone into space using their spacecraft that they've spent really billions of dollars to develop. And now we've had Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, richest man in the world, also go to space along with three other people, Wally Funk, and then as well, the youngest person to go into space along with his brother. So now we're starting to see the emergence of a tourist industry that's going to be, truthfully, for very few people. The cost of going to space is still quite prohibitive. However, the real action, in my opinion, is really going on in the servicing of satellites. And we've got these millions of satellites orbiting around the Earth. And there's issues around debris, there's issues around positioning, there's issues around it. And we've identified incredible stuff that we think represents one of the few very real businesses, meaning that once they get going, they actually have a solid market where people want their service, want their product, and they're going to be able to generate revenue. And then over time, once their reinvestment needs are done, significant profits. And once again, if you're interested in knowing that stock, click on the strong hands above, and that will take you actually to a presentation on space that I have done. It's a promotional presentation that still tells you a lot of incredible information that we have found about space. Bottom line to space is that this opportunity feels like it is going to be the biggest opportunity when people look back 3 or 5 years from now. For example, I became known for focusing on the Internet of Things in 2016. And that's pretty much what space feels like today. To some people, they'll say, oh, Paul, space needs this to be sorted out, that needs to be sorted out. Like in 2016, the knock on the Internet of Things with security would need to be worked out, and that it wouldn't be as big as people thought, which is billions of devices connected to the internet, and turned out to be wrong. And right now, space is looking like it's about to go through exponential parabolic growth because we're talking about an economy that's going to be grown from scratch. And it's going to be worth as much as potentially $1.4 trillion. This is according to a study that was done. So this is going to be ramping up fast. And you're also now seeing actual real developments that anyone can see. Anyone can go to YouTube and watch Richard Branson's space flight or Jeff Bezos' space flight. Or to me, even more impressive is SpaceX, which is the leader of this new space era, sending their rockets into space, and then they come back and land. I have to say that I'm absolutely completely addicted to watching these rockets go up. And then they're building this enormous, I think it's 20-story-foot spaceship called Starship, which is ultimately designed to go to Mars. And that's the theme of the t-shirt here this week, which is that it's designed to go to Mars in the next, well, Elon's time frames are always off. However, it's 10 years, somewhere in the next 10 years or so, Mars is coming. However, the value is going to be built along the way. There's going to be technology developments. There's going to be stepping stones to that ultimate milestone of getting to Mars and putting up a Mars colony, and then extending human life to a second planet, which is the ultimate goal of Elon Musk and SpaceX. And we are well along the way. We have now multiple companies that are focusing on reusable rockets. Some of them are now public, and we'll be looking to put those in either into Profits Unlimited or across our services when the time is right. And then there's really high profile companies like Relativity Space that is 3D printing rockets that I believe can be a genuine competitor to SpaceX. So if you're interested in space, well, subscribe to our channel. We're going to update the space race that's unfolding right now, the new space race that's unfolding right now. And I believe that now is the actual moment to actually get invested right now. And you can see that as well as there's now the emergence of new space ETFs that you could buy into. I would tell you that you can check into Kathy Wood's space ETF, which I believe has started. You can check into that. It goes under the ticker symbol ARKX. So you can check into that as well. So that's this week's video, Robinhood, Bitcoin, space. Hope you liked it. Subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and come back next week. Until then, this is Paul saying bye.